Okay. If everybody will take your seats, I think we're going to start. It's about time at this point. Dr. Roz Lowen, her doctoral research at CCNY was on the Ascomycete genus Nectrelia, if I'm pronouncing that right? Nectrelia, excuse me. She's described several new species of ascos in dozens of publications and given workshops for clubs and forays throughout the United States, and is one of COMA's original members. Please welcome Roz Lowen.
Thank you, Joe. And my university was CUNY, C-U-N-Y, not C-C-N.
Oh, okay.
That's confusing.
I'm a graduate of CCNY.
That's the difference between the state school and New York City.
Yeah.
Okay, so Helvella. This is the family. They're Ascomycetes in division. The class is Pizizomycetes. They're Pizizales. The family is Helvellaceae. The genus is Helvella, and the type species of Helvella is Helvella crispa. So that's a lesson in taxonomy. So the history of Helvellaceae is kind of complicated. In 1753, Linnaeus erected the genus Helvella, but, and then Scopoli described Phallus crispa, thinking that it was a relationship to stinkhorns. And then this was interesting, that John Lightfoot described Helvella mitra, and mitra means curled. And it turns out that Helvella mitra was black, and it's a synonym of Helvella lacunosa. So already we're getting things all complicated here. Fries transferred Phallus crispa to Helvella, and then he erected the family Helvellaceae, and then that was later, it was really a misspelling, and so it was later corrected by Corda. And then in 1997, and I think this is, that's not, Kerry O'Donnell removed two of the original genera from Helvellaceae. And this is about John Lightfoot. He was a pioneer who made one of the first descriptions of plants. And of course, at that time, fungi were considered plants. The name was validated by Linnaeus in 1753. That was actually the starting point for names. So there were people who named fungi before 1753, but if Linnaeus actually validated those names, and so Linnaeus is the starting point. So this is really a lesson in nomenclature, which can get kind of complicated.
Why are mushrooms not considered plants? Because they can't use sunlight?
Oh, right, that's right. Plants have chlorophyll, and fungi get their nutrition by exuding enzymes and then bringing that back into their body. So,
is green moss considered a plant?
Moss are plants.
Okay.
Yeah, as are algae.
Thank you.
So, originally only the 3 genera were in the Helvellaceae, and the last 2, Gyromitra and Dissingia, have been removed to the Dissingaceae. So, and then Boudier in 1907 recognized 5 genera in the Helvellaceae, and almost all of those are now Helvella. Modern research has since shown that Gyromitra and Dissingia are distantly related to Helvella, and Helvellaceae is now got a smaller group than it had. There's just 6 genera in the Helvellaceae, according to some people, and there's always a dispute about some of this. Helvella, though, is the largest genus in the Helvellaceae. I read someplace that it was over 200 and counting. And Index Fungorum only lists 140, but they take time to validate the names, so they're really behind. The type species is Helvella crispa. It's got irregular caps, and the underside is fuzzy, and the colors in Helvella are, I never thought about this, but they're not bright. They're white, brown, gray, and maybe black, but no bright red or orange. Some of the stipes are ribbed and grooved, and some of them are smooth. The spores are typically white. They form mycorrhizal relationships with Fagaceae and Pinaceae and some other trees. And then I just want to put in there, eating Helvella is just not recommended. And if you heard the speech last night, toxin gyromitrin is in some of the species, and that breaks down into monomethylhydrazine, which is possibly cancerous and causes damage to organs. So these mushrooms are mostly small anyway, and they're really, well, I never tasted them. I don't know if they taste good, but I don't think, they're not for eating. These 2 species are in the Helvellaceae, and Underwoodia got collected at one foray I was at in Pennsylvania, and I really wanted to look at it, and it disappeared. Somebody took it home, so I never got to. It's the only time I ever saw it. It's an interesting. It just looks like a stick, and then. Wynella sylvicula was originally called Helvella, but they call that ear-shaped, and in the descriptions, it's auriculoid. So when you see the word auriculoid, it means ear-shaped. So recent molecular studies have shaken up the whole concept of Helvella. Imagine, it's related to the Tuberaceae. That's tubers that are round and underground mostly, and it doesn't seem like they look like a Helvella at all. But anyway, molecularly, that's what was figured out. Then let's see, there have been some new studies with a lot of species added from China, and what's really important is that when Helvella is identified, you need a combination of the morphological, the molecular, and also the ecological data to get the right species. And it's still a work in progress, just like I guess everything is still being changed. I got interested in Helvella because of these pictures here. They all grew in the back of my condo in the same place. I assume they're all the same species. And it looks like Helvella atra in some books, but I read the original description of Helvella atra, and Helvella atra is black. And one time I had a dark collection from my backyard, and I sent it to Elsvalinga because I knew that they were studying Helvella lacuminosa. And it definitely was not in the Helvella lacunosa group. And so they really didn't work on it. So I really don't know any more about it than that. These are two more collections from the back of my house. The right-hand one is partially eaten by probably slugs. So atra means black. My collections have all been found on the north side of the building and growing in moss. And I found them every year from about July to September, except this year. After July, nothing else grew back there. And as I said, it was occasionally black. I divided species of Helvella up just by shape to discuss the different species. Helvella acetabulum is cup-shaped. The ribs extend partially up the cup. You can see the ribs in the picture. It says they grow spring and summer and on the ground in the woods. And there have been various divisions of Helvella into phylogenetic clades, and in one division, acetabulum is one of the phylogenetic clades. This is a drawing from Abbott and Carrot in 1988. The top one is Helvella acetabulum, and the bottom one is Helvella atra. On your right, the very slender picture is a paraphysis, and that's a little thready element that grows between the asci in most ascomycetes. And they probably are there to preserve moisture so that the spores can get ejected from the ascus. And the ascus typically, which is next to it, typically has 8 ascospores. But the reason why I chose to show you this picture was because of the picture of the ascospores. Both of these species, although they're very different in morphological aspect, have kind of similar spores. They're a single oval or ellipsoid is the official shape, and there's an oil droplet that almost fills up the spore. One oil drop. That's different than a lot of ascospores, which have other variations of oil drops in the spores. And the bottom one is my Helvella atra. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what do the two species have to do with each other?
They're both Helvella, that's all. I just chose this drawing to show what the spores look like.
Okay.
So they're related because they're in the same genus.
Right.
I found this once in my yard on the side, and I don't think it'll grow there again because in the meantime other plants have invaded, and it's cut as grass, but it's different now than it used to be. But this was cool. It's a cup shape, and it was gray, and it had these ribs that go almost all the way up the cap. And then the picture of the spore I got from Michael Quo's website. And again, see how the oil droplet almost fills the spore. And this is another cup shape, Helvella leucomelania. It's actually no longer considered Helvella. But anyway, it looks like the others. It has an apothecia with a deep dark cup. And if you look at the margin, it's kind of wavy, and most of the others are entire. The excipula fades to, the one on the right, it fades to white at the base. It grows with conifer needles and in coastal and montane forests in the spring. I have never seen this, but I'm not sure it grows where I live. Helvella cupuliformis has a gray-brown cup. The stipe is round. Terete means round. It's pale and finely hairy. And again, the ascospores are ellipsoid like the others, and with one guttural. Unigutturate means one guttural, one oil drop. And the spores are globose with brownish contents. Oh, I'm sorry, those are the paraphyses that have brownish contents. And Helvella macropus is the one that's often found in forays. And I found it growing on wood and also on the ground. It's cup-shaped with the round stalk. The stalk is about the same color as the cup. And the spores, though, are really different. They're kind of pointed, as you can see in the picture. And they were put in their separate phylogenetic group, but maybe they'll be taken out of Helvella, who knows. They occur in summer and fall, and they're distinguished from other cup-shaped Helvella by the spores. And some of the species are what they call saddle-shaped, and I was trying to figure out what saddle-shaped means. I think it means that the sides go up, but the other dimension goes down, if that makes any sense to you. But anyway, this one is Helvella fibrosa, and you can see the sides are up, but the middle is not covered, and it bends downward. This shows the paraphyses, the spores, and the outside of the excepulum, which end the mycelium end, making it look rough. Helvella elastica has also come in at a lot of the forays. It has, now this one has a white stipe, and this one is considered to be lobed. The cap is tan. The margin rolls inward, and so if you have a Helvella where the margin doesn't roll inward, it might not be elastica. And you have to look underneath and see if it's hairy. Well, I said the stipe is round. It's on rotted wood or disturbed ground, and that is the name of one study of the different groupings. And then there's another group that has a stem that's really ribbed with internal chambers, and Helvella crispa is one like that. Crispa means curled, and you can see the hymenium, the fertile part, is all curled up. It's cream colored with a ribbed stipe. The cap is not fused to the stipe, it's free. And the reverse is finely fuzzy, and it's fairly common on disturbed ground. I found this in a group. It was amazing. There's a trail near me that goes up to a viewpoint, and it's got it had a road that was paved that went up there, and the paving is all broken up, but it's really nice. I found a lot of really interesting fungi on this. The name of the place is Mount Agassiz, and it's actually private property, but on the side of the road last year when I went up there was this whole field of Helvella crispa. I never saw anything like it. And across the road on the other side was a whole pile of geoglossums. I mean, just one after the other, and it was really cool. I went back a couple of times this year. There's nothing growing there, but it's dry. And this is such an interesting fungus. This was always described around here as Helvella lacunosa, but I don't know how to say his name, Nguyen and Vilinga worked on these black mushrooms and decided the molecular data showed that they're actually two different fungi that look very similar. They have a black hymenium and a white stipe, and the stipe has ribs, but it also has holes, or lacuna. So that's a kind of a big change. These are pictures of some of the Helvella that I found one year in my side yard, only they were infected with hypomyces, and this is hypomyces cerviginus. And that's just kind of interesting. Here's another hypomyces for you to look for. The references are pretty interesting. MycoWeb, which is Michael Wood's website, it's mostly about California, but he has all kinds of references. I wanted to look at the paper for Abbott and Carra, 1988. It was on his website, the whole thing. So if you're looking for literature, that's a really good place to look. Oh gee, it skipped. So when Abbott and Carra did their study in 1988, they laid the groundwork for later DNA studies. And then in 1997, they studied the whole family, the Helvellaceae. And they were the ones that established that the black lacunose fungus in the West was not the European I don't have that right. You're being it should be lacunose at the end. O'Donnell and et al. In 1997 established relationships, phylogenetic relationships among Ascomycetes truffles and the true and false morels. And so they're the ones that found out that the Helvellaceae is related to the Tuberaceae. O'Donnell. Okay, and then Nguyen and all described the Helvella lacinosus complex in Western North America. I think Helvella might still be in Eastern North America. I'm not really sure about that. And they described the two new species, Helvella vespertina and Helvella dryophila, and they're pretty impossible to tell apart. Streed in 2017 in Persunia did a synopsis of the saddle family and discovered that there are many cryptic species. That, in other words, there are many more species that when you look at, say, Helvella crispa, it may not always be Helvella crispa. There may be a couple of other fungi that look like that. But those kinds of things can really only be determined molecularly. And then Wang and et al. Did a 4-locus phylogeny. That means 4 different spots on the gene they used to sequence. And they did the rib stipe. That looks funny. Cupulate species of Helvella. And then K. Goose's in the Journal of Fungal Biology worked with Helvella from Turkey. And based on sequence data, they studied the 3 species listed there. And then Zhao, the latest study I have recorded is Zhao in 2023 from China, named 18 new species. So this is a continuing study. It's like to be continued, right? I have a handout for you that's a key to Helvella with most of the common species that you might find, but it's based on morphology and it's modified from Abbott and Carra. So it's old in a way, but practical if you want to try and identify these, because you can't be carrying around your PCR in your pocket. So that's all that I had on Helvella, but I wanted to tell you about